Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood episodes 9 through 12.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Alright, so we're going to start off today.
You're sick of that.
We're starting off today with episode 9, Created Feelings. In this episode, Winry comes to repair Edward's little metal buddies because they were injured in the fight with the serial killer from episode 8.
Oh, his arm.
Yeah, his arm. Because she actually forgot to add a screw last time.
Yeah,
when
she
he came
felt
by.
guilty. Yeah, she felt guilty. She was like, I'm at fault.
Also, they make a whole point out of Ed not drinking his milk.
Throughout the entire episode, too, they really don't let this one go this episode.
Yeah, they don't. Well, they form a whole little arc about him not wanting to drink milk, and then it's a big deal at the end when he decides that, okay, I'm going to make this sacrifice and drink this milk.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit when he feels like
Also, even when they flash back to one of the times when I think in like the next episode or something, and they're eating dinner, there's like a little thing of milk off to the corner, completely full.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Which is sort of weird because milk actually isn't nearly as good for you as we've been building up for.
Fucking hate milk.
Yeah. Well, it's also not
Whoa! Milk is good for your taste buds.
Yeah, we actually have been. The government has been pushing milk as being good for you because they had a surplus after buying up a bunch of dairy farms. And if you're curious about the history of milk, listen to my other podcast. That's about food.
Also, in this episode, when Winry gets off the train, Teacher and Sig walk past her.
Do they really?
Oh, really?
I didn't notice that. Even
I wrote that down. Ed's teacher just casually walking past Winry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's really
Because,
cool.
I mean, Sig is very hard not to notice Sig.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't notice because I didn't know who they were until later.
But yeah, they just straight up walk behind her. It's weird.
Huh.
Also, I like where
Small world.
where you don't even see Sig's head, but they just walk past him.
Do you think that was
That's
intentional, or did they just run out of character models and figure they'd throw that in there?
Just throw it in.
This show is the remake of the series in terms of like animation stuff, so it's probably just like you guys, if you're watching this, probably know who these characters are.
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll see him soon.
So it's probably like a little cameo.
But yeah, this is something that I thought was weird.
Oh. I wonder what they're doing there.
Yeah.
That one's all sorts of questions.
And they went back fairly soon afterward, because
Yeah.
when Ed and Al see them, they're at their home.
Right. But they spend a lot of time in between.
Mm-hmm. Now, this episode also pays off the setup from the previous episode where Al has been having this existential crisis about whether he's a puppet or
My
not.
very first note is Al, get over it.
Like I said, the very short.
Yeah, it lasts like a solid. It doesn't even last the whole episode.
Wrapped up.
It really doesn't, but my main question, and perhaps this is a question that serves as a microcosm for the series as a whole, is that, let's say Al is a puppet.
Yeah.
Let's say he is. Then wouldn't Edward have created a soul?
Yeah.
Because is that not functionally a soul?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has feelings and sentience, and he has thoughts and opinions.
Yes.
Even if it's constructed, that's a soul.
So
Yeah.
she's saying that should make Al realize that, okay, if he's done that, the rules are broken. So
Yeah.
obviously I'm a person.
Well, either I'm a person, or my understanding of souls is a little weird.
Or
Yeah.
he is the alchemy god.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, most of this, and I think we covered this last time. Most of this paranoia comes from him being a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's not rational. His feelings are not rational.
Mhm.
He's a 12-year-old boy that just literally almost got killed by this scary butcher wielding knife
A what?
killer.
A butcher? Oh, so he's not a chopper.
And like and they've been in fights before, but somebody who's really crazy, not like
And
like
knows-
a petty criminal,
And
It's the
knows
first time
how to
like,
kill him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's the same thing.
Start like fucking with his head.
This is
and
probably
now-
the first time he's ever met anybody who is a soul bonded object.
Right,
So,
they think they're special, in the grand scheme of things when there's been some crazy stuff happening alongside this, right?
Yeah.
Look, you mentioned that it's magic. Like, anything's possible. they're like, man, that's so strange. You're a body attached to a suit of armor. That's weird.
Mhm.
It's like, what's weird about that? When you got people who can throw fire from their hands and like
People who can create things
just out of nothing.
like perfect versions. People who can touch a radio and fix it.
I do like that this problem is one that Al couldn't go to Ed about, just because it is nice to have a problem that is fully something that separates Ed and Al. Because
Right.
Al can't go to Ed with this issue. And
No.
when he does, it drives them apart.
Right.
Because Ed has been living for the past, what is it now, 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
As this thing.
Yeah.
And he's gained his identity.
Yeah, and as a result, Ed has been beating himself up, constantly convinced that Al has blamed him.
Oh,
for
that
it.
was the flashback. On my notes, there was a flashback that I was like, what am I referring to here? When I was just going over it before the episode. That's what I'm talking about. That flashback, I remember it was like pretty emotional. Where he's in the bed and you actually see Winry listening to him complain about how he thinks it's his fault.
Yeah.
That specific flashback really affected me anyway.
Well, yeah.
Him in the bed and like...
Because it's a thing that's sort of always been in the background, and it's a lot to hear it come out. In fact, I think Winry actually says this, doesn't she? Where she says,
Yeah.
So maybe you don't have to hear something out loud, but it does help sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes it helps. And for the audience, that's one of the few times we actually see Ed vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty reserved as a character in general about his feelings. Point of the episode, right?
Yeah.
And this is the few times that we get to see it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why it affected me.
Yeah. Well, and it helps a lot just as character growth.
Right.
When you get to see someone open up about their own vulnerability when they've been sheltered for so long. It takes a very, very strong person to appear vulnerable. And that's strength that can take a long time to learn.
Absolutely. On the other side of that, with Winry, it shows her emotional connection to these boys, right? How much she really cares for them.
Cares for them, understands.
Right.
Yeah.
But she cares so much for them that she's okay with dealing with their, straight up, like, neglect in terms of, like, not contacting their basically family, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're already basically
For
family.
years.
Yeah, years and years.
Yeah.
So, like...
And then they come back when they need something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that there's an emotional connection there further than that.
Yeah. That's a good point, because they really have turned Winry and Grandma into this transactional relationship. They've made them utilitarian, where they're like, we go back when we need to be repaired, like you were saying, Kenneth. When, to Winry, it's never been transactional.
Mm-mm.
She genuinely cares about them.
Yep.
And they genuinely care about her, but Ed doesn't really want to admit it, and Al kind of just goes along with Ed on that.
Yep. I think Al knows about Ed's feelings too in general. I mean, it's clear that there's like romantic intention there. It's Hughes teases about it throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
He's like, she'll make you a great wife someday. It's probably one of my favorite things. I have a note that says, Maze Hughes is the love of my life. Also, in all caps, Alicia's 3rd birthday.
That was adorable.
I'm 2. No, wait, 3.
And that like flips the switch on how Winry feels about her.
Oh, man.
That is a really adorable moment.
Yeah, I have written the interesting relationship that Winry gets to have with Maze Hughes and his family because she wasn't able to grow up with hers.
Yeah.
And the interesting dynamic there of, oh, this is a little sister I could have had. This is the mom and dad I could have had.
Yeah, and the Hughes have such a functional family.
Yeah. And likewise that they just accept her right away because of who she is.
Yeah, she's associated with Ed now. That's all we need to know.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that that means that Hughes can trust her as like being a good person.
Yeah. And Hughes strikes me as the type of person who does take in strays. Like, I think he does like the idea of we will help you when no one else will.
Yeah.
I have written down, I'm worried about Alicia, because they're working so hard to make us like her that I'm like, oh shit. Like, no. But I think...
What about the wrong person there?
Yeah, I think I was worried about the wrong person, given the next couple episodes.
Yeah, right. She's too good to
Yeah.
She's too far.
So...
Yeah, that would be like
That would be
killing
like,
Nina
yo, we're not watching
and the
this.
dog.
No, she's that, and she's hyped up.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really touch this anywhere else in the series, but we see Scar wake up
Oh,
in
yeah.
his fallen
I forgot
camp
about that.
for like a quick sec.
In the slums, boy.
And the way he talks, and this is something I hadn't noticed before, the way he like addresses them, is this the first time he's seen other Ishvalan survivors in 15 years?
It certainly seems to be kind of new for him.
Yeah, he's
either
like
that or he is at least surprised to be
in like a camp.
He might just be surprised that okay, I got attacked in Central.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden I'm picked up by some Ishvalans.
The lines themselves seemed weird. He was like, because what does he actually say? He's like, "You're here with brothers now," and he's like, he just looks so shocked. And yeah, it might just be because he was in.
Yeah, he's like.
But he was on the east side to begin with.
Well, I will say from a writing perspective, it makes the stakes higher if it's the first time he's seen Ishvalan survivors.
In 15 years, because that's how long ago that the genocide was, right?
Which is odd because, I mean, is there that few of them?
There's probably very few, combined with the fact that they probably are largely in hiding. So it's probably hard to communicate with other Ishvalan survivors.
I'm saying, like, me and Kane having watched the whole show. Because, I mean, there's others that show up. But is there that few?
But they're all in the like they're all like within the refugee camps. I don't know how many there are. I wouldn't say that there's.
Yeah, there's not like a bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean they literally say there's like it's not like the towns we used to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we all celebrate Ishvala here, and like I think it is the first time that Scar's really because he was like in the center of it. We get that flashback with Kimberly.
Yeah.
Where he literally uses the term I was sent here to exterminate you.
Yeah. I'm getting a real vibe that the Ishvalan seem to be symbolically a catch-all for everyone that the Nazis were exterminating, which was a lot of people, mostly the Jewish people.
They're kind of a catch-all for, like, everything.
Yeah, but they sort of turn into a catch-all for, like, literally everywhere.
Because the way him and the older guy talked is very, like, I would say very, like Muslim.
Yeah, I would say that they're, like, almost it's weird because I feel like their religion almost fits more Muslim in terms of
religion fits more Muslim.
What I was getting was Romani.
Really?
Who were also the Nazis also hated the Romani.
Yeah,
but you can take anything and slap it on the Ishvalan and compare it to the real world and there's a slight fit there. Right. So that no matter what you think of, I'm thinking of these people, I'm thinking of those people.
Yeah.
When I see where it's been done.
I think that's an appropriate way to go about that kind of storytelling.
To not make it too specific to one type of person.
Well, considering this story is about the white people that we're watching.
Yeah.
Right? We can't hate the white people we're watching because that's the story, the protagonists we're watching. Mm. So, like, I think if we made it, I think it would be a disservice if they made it specific. If that makes sense. Like, it would be almost a disservice to that culture.
That makes sense. Because because it is about the white people we're watching, but if you do start making it specific, I don't want to sympathize with actual Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
I really, And
I think that they do that in a way that works. And is still, like, emotionally stakes are high and emotionally, like, you're connected and empathizing with these characters. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just a little glimpse that they don't really go back to in the next few episodes because some other crazy shit happens. But like, I always feel like it's really important to like talk about the little intricate things about because Scar is one of my favorite characters.
And Scar mentions a brother and a master.
Yeah. Also, we see his full tatted arm
that he lost.
Yes.
So who else do we know that quote unquote lost a brother?
Right.
And lost an arm figure on top.
Oh, I didn't even. His arm.
We're talking about foils, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, literally, it's on the nose with the tatted arm using the explosions, and then his robot arm using the. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then brother, teacher, mom, teacher.
Yeah. That's something I've never thought about before.
I just thought of it then.
That's really obvious.
He specifically says brother. He says brother and master.
Right. Those are so many of the best symbols, the best sort of connections are the ones you don't really notice. But then when you notice them, you think, oh my god, that was so obvious.
Yeah.
I love those.
Well, I mean, because the characters are so distinct, and that the characters are not similar at all. Because they're foils. But that's so interesting. Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, let's go on episode 10. This is Separate Destinations. This is where Ed and Al and Winry are on their way to go see their teacher that initially taught them alchemy. And while they're doing that, this is when Hughes is attacked by Lust in the library. And when he goes, or it's not the library, the archives.
Yeah.
And when he does, he tries to contact Mustang, and basically sort of fails, but sort of doesn't.
Yeah.
And they have to give him a funeral there.
Which even before that, what something wrote down is anime stuff. In the beginning, when they're talking about the war, is the only time you see Hughes do the glasses push.
Yeah.
And it's while they're talking about the war, well, they're in the middle of the war, and they're talking about Mustang taking over, is the only time you get the evil glasses push from Maze.
When it goes up and it makes its eyes reflection.
Yeah. Because then later in the episode, when he's... Oh, at the birthday party.
Yeah.
When the little boys are, like, fighting over Celia, is when you get, like, the what's it called? The glare on the glasses.
Oh yeah.
When he's doing the evil dad stuff.
He's like,
so you still get those things, but it's only
like, neither one of you touch my daughter.
Yeah, that's the only times you see like the hardcore Hughes. Which also when he just like
Hughes is just always at a 10. I love him so much.
Like he kills Lust. Like if Lust is a regular person.
Oh yeah,
no, he would have
killed her. He killed her,
and he would have killed Envy.
Yeah,
he would have
if she couldn't transform into his wife, like off
because she saw the picture on the ground.
That's what I wrote. Is Hughes is about that action.
Yeah,
like he's not just a guy at a desk. He's about that life.
I wrote. I think that this is probably the saddest episode for me.
His funeral.
Not just the funeral, but there's some like if you know me and talking about scores, there's some like interesting score that happens when Ed and Winry and them are on the train. And if you've watched the episode before, right, going back to it, you know why that music's playing. It's the last time that they see Mace, that they're going to see Mace Hughes. Mm-hmm. When he's waving goodbye to them on the train.
Yeah. And
that moment, like, rewatching the series hits even harder than the funeral does for me.
Yeah.
Even you know, some of the characters that you see later on that you'd be like, why are they like that? Are sad because it's such a sad event.
The thing that really got me, the thing that I thought was so smart and so emotionally moving for me, was that right after Hughes dies, the next scene is Ed complaining about him.
Yeah, very about
Oh my god, that's so smart. Because the minute he does, you're like, no, he just... And you're like, oh, you don't know. And actually, this is what we do all the time.
And not just complaining about, like, basically how nice he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always annoying talking about his family and his daughter and how much he loves them. Like,
yeah.
It's not even like...
It means that's the impression. He's not even, like, complaining, like, I hate him. He's, like, complaining, being like, oh, man, he's just too much. He's always at a 10. He's like, oh, he's just too much, because he leaves that impression on him.
Yeah.
And something else I wrote down is, at this point in the series, he is the only military person that you've seen out of uniform.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you see him twice with the black suit and the regular undershirt, and then I was trying to think, you don't see anybody else out of uniform. Maybe you see Armstrong with the shirt off, things like that, but they still have their base uniform.
Their blue slacks or whatever.
And in the original, they first meet him out of uniform on the train in like a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Mustang, and I feel like I'd play him in the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even know why I wrote that down. I think it was just him. No, I know what it was. It was when
he ruffles his hair.
It was when he ruffles his hair.
There's another thing. I continue to notice tiny little things. He does his hair for the funeral, and then when he's talking about like getting his goal and avenging Hughes is when he messes up his hair and he goes back to normal.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Those are all the little things that I'm noticing watching this again.
Yeah, but I think the part that got me was when Hughes is contacting him about to die, and his first thing is he's kind of like, oh my god, I don't have time to hear about his family.
Yeah.
I know Celia's birthday was yesterday, man. I know.
And the weird thing about that is...
later, it's late.
I think maybe one of the reasons I like Mustang so much might be because Hughes kind of reminds me of you.
Damn it, Cam. I'm sick of you always.
Here's the interesting thing about... I wrote a bunch about Mustang for this episode because this episode really is for him. This episode is for Mustang. This is a major turning point in his arc. When you watch that flashback at the very beginning of the episode, and Hughes says to him, you can see his hatred for King Bradley.
Oh,
you can very visually see the hatred in his eyes staring at King Bradley, knowing he says that he's going to be on the top, but he doesn't want to be on the top because he wants to be the most in power.
He wants to be on top of...
He wants to be on the top so that he can make sure what's happening in Ishval doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it has to do with the way the military works is wrong. It's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
If I'm on the top, then I can make sure anybody going under is going to work.
And the only people you see in the flashback is the three of them. At least that you know. Everybody else is just, background.
And, I have more written down for this. Like, when they're at the funeral, Mustang admits the reason that he's not higher up in the military is because he wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
Hughes was supposed to be bumping him up at the very beginning of the episode, and Mustang reveals in a very, one line, he says that you got it backwards. I was trying to bump you up, which is why Hughes was higher, because he knows that Hughes was the better person to be at the top of the pyramid scheme.
And there's such a beauty, such a horrible, bittersweet, well, not even bittersweet, it's just sort of sad in general, that they promoted him because he died in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Brigadier General?
Yeah, Brigadier General.
Everybody.
Because they make it so that you want to die for the cause.
Yeah.
So that if you do, you will be remembered better. And that's just the military being evil, basically. Making it so that you fall more in love with them and their disgusting cause.
When does King Bradley pick up his Oscar, is what I want to know.
He is...
Shows up with a melon.
I thought you would like this melon. I thought you would like this melon. I'm like, that's weird.
After he ran off from his bodyguards and then just jumps out the window and walks off. Like, he didn't just jump out of the window. And then at the funeral, he's shaking like Hughes was like his right-hand man. Like, when does he pick up his Oscar?
Yeah, I love that they make it so that he is in every way, superficially, as personable as humanly possible.
But almost every time you see him, you get a glimpse of what he could be.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way he mentions that he knows everything about what they're looking into, and he knows what the Philosopher's Stone and all that time. So he always...
Exactly.
It's like every time you see him, you see both sides. You see how, like, I wrote down, Bradley continues to show his sharpness. Where you can see how evil it is, but you can see him playing the actual good guy.
Yeah, and I think the only way you can justify that is that he thinks he's the good guy.
Yeah.
And I think if we go... I can't really go into any of the actual things that I think about this character, because I think King Bradley is just as interesting
there's a lot
to follow in terms of, like, the small... Like you're saying, the small details in the show are, important. They pay off later.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, but it was only a little bit in this episode, but it fueled a lot of the, like, anxiety and, like, stuff that was happening in the episode, which was Al's confusion.
Yeah.
This episode is mostly about Hughes, right? And then the episode before led up to that with that very glimpse we got of the Ishvala War with Scar. And this episode pays off with that small glimpse that I wrote down, right? And so these small glimpses of things pay off later, and as we see, it'll start to... more of them will start to happen, and then they'll be pay off at different times. It won't just be like one episode from the last.
Also, I have written down, while they were doing that very emotional scene about Mustang sort of coming to terms with Hughes' death and blaming his tears on non-existent rain.
Yeah.
I literally wrote on the note, wait a minute. Now I can't stop thinking about this. Why can't he use a lighter? God damn it, Kenneth.
They made perfect prosthetics.
Yeah.
And they can't let the man use... Like, fire can survive in rain, like, if it's strong.
Because they spent all last week sort of just saying, like, it doesn't matter. And I do think ultimately it doesn't matter narratively.
Yeah.
But now, once you said it and I had a week, I went like,
they couldn't make
God damn it, now I can't stop thinking about it.
They couldn't make him anything.
Like, they'd have to, like, carve a tiny-ass circle into
the girl has a cannon in her leg, King. A cannon. They can't make a lighter. They can't do a pyro.
No, they could. I think he just likes the gloves.
I get he likes the gloves, but this is...
But he's a grade A, like, military war veteran. Like, he should...
They could invest
He
the money
should
into
not be
getting
scared of the rain.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I have
okay.
one more thing to say about this episode, and it has to do about Hughes and the conspiracy that's been figured out by these characters, right? And we get the great moment between Armstrong and Mustang, and Armstrong subtly being like, "There's something up here."
Yeah, in the coded language
of letting Mustang. He's like, "We need you to figure this out because we're not." We were literally told we can't talk about it.
And now we know that he knows.
Yes, he knows that he knows who knows about it.
Yeah.
So now that you know, you need to be more discreet about it. Like, great scene, but also Hughes figured out the whole thing.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean, if you watch, immediately.
He walked into the other room. He said 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, and if you know exactly what is going on, when you watch that scene, you're like, I'm upset that I didn't figure it out as fast as he did, based off of what
he figured out 60 episodes.
Yeah, 60 episodes of what they're gonna slowly reveal. He's like, I got it. And if you look at like the papers and everything, you're like, holy shit, he fucking got it. Yeah. You're like getting so upset about it.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because I think that goes to show even higher the stakes of losing that character.
Yeah.
You lose that mind that could have been so useful to the show. My last thing for the episode is when they say they're gonna go meet teacher, and you get that simplified animation of them like scaring and supporting each other, like, oh my god, like just so many times in the show I laugh at that simple animation of like Ed and Al. Like, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, the next episode is episode 11, Miracle at Rush Valley.
More like Winry's episode.
It really is. It's a Winry episode through and through.
Or like I have, which should be the name of the episode, is just creating life metaphors. That's what the episode is.
It really is, because in this one, they stop at Rush Valley purely to appease Winry, because Rush Valley is Metal Buddy headquarters.
So this is just her episode.
Like,
through and
Ed
through.
gets assaulted in the town square so he can see his automail.
He gets assaulted in town square because everybody's obsessed with his automail. They want to see those sweet Metal Buddies.
And she's just like, deal with it.
Yeah.
She's like...
And at some point in the commotion, he gets pickpocketed by, not Panera.
Panera, yeah.
Panania? I have it written down and I can't remember how to pronounce it.
I don't know.
Panina, I think.
Panina.
Yeah,
I think you're
Panina.
right.
She pickpockets his pocket watch and runs to where she lives with, or not even where she lives.
Yeah, they never
with the guy
really,
she respects.
Yeah, they never really say if she lives or she doesn't.
Yeah.
Well,
he
does mention at the end of the episode what he says to Winry. He basically revealed that that's what this girl just does.
Yeah, she just stops by every once in a while.
Yeah, she comes whenever she feels like it.
She comes and she sees him. His name is Dominic. He is really, really good at automail, and he lives there with his son and his
really
daughter-in-law. Yeah. And over the course of this episode,
and he goes full grandpa.
Yeah. They give birth, and he goes full grandpa.
Yeah. And Ed's over here trying to create life on this fucking life journey, and this lady just said, "Bam, life. There you go. It's not that hard, dumbass."
I don't feel like that's how the episode went.
No,
I feel like it was pretty hard.
Well, yeah, it was pretty hard, but like it's
nope. It's just come over here, squat for 2 minutes, just blow out some life.
That was the part of
But yeah, the creating life metaphor is like,
yeah, for sure.
Ed, like this, she created life, and Ed was just sitting outside, not able to do a thing.
I wrote in the next couple of episodes, I have to follow through with this, like the nature of life versus alchemy and the industrial life of Amestris.
Yeah.
Just kind of being like opposites, kind of conflicting, and like the whole journey of like learning that they're both important.
How do you mean?
Like for an alchemist, right? Any alchemist that tends to think just in terms of science terms, or anybody who's living in this like industrial world, or mechanics per se, right? Yeah, that stuff's cool, but anybody who's wrapped up in that and doesn't appreciate the life that they're experiencing right here, or taking a life, for instance, right? These trained militant, armies, or these crazy alchemists that we're dealing with who clearly don't have a care for life. This is a theme that recurs throughout the entire series, right? Ed cares about life. and we get to actually see childbirth, like how life is done naturally. And I think that juxtaposition of the world that they live in is really important.
Yeah.
Or just an important symbol.
I think you're very right. That a lot of this does hinge on just understanding what life is a huge theme of this entire show.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I like that during this, when Ed and Al realize they are so out of their depth and they don't know what the hell they're doing, that this is the one moment where Ed makes an appeal to God.
Yeah,
I wrote that down too!
Yeah.
Which I think is sort of fascinating too, because I'm not particularly religious either. But there are times in my life where I pray, partially because it's just, I think it's healthy, even as a somewhat non-religious person, to be thankful for what you have and to address what you would like to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And there are just times when that is healthy, I guess.
Absolutely.
And I think this is one of those times for Ed. He just is looking at what he wants to have done. And he wants this to be a safe childbirth, but he's in a position where he has no control over it.
Yeah.
And in those times, I think something like prayer can
To
be
sort of
as helpful as
level your head and feel, positive and confident in the eyes of something of the unknown that you have no idea.
And be comfortable that you're just an ant.
Right. Yeah, we'll get we'll get there.
No, but you're right, and that does draw a really good conclusion
Right.
to the point they make in the next episode about how we're all small and we're all big.
Yeah, I think this show has an interesting. I think they do episodes sort of in pairs almost, or or episode and a half in terms of their structure.
I have written down Ed's constant struggle to not be mad at people, because you can tell he gets really angry.
Because everybody always says something about him.
Yeah.
But when it really comes down to it,
It's his own insecurities.
it's his own insecurities, and I don't know if there's a part of him that knows that or not, but there is a part of him that at least recognizes that being angry won't actually solve this.
This is a big, I have written down, this is a big turning point for his character when he finally has that conversation with Rinri.
Exactly.
About the watch. Where she's like, I opened it, I'm sorry. He was pissed at first, but he doesn't go fully into it like you see him go usually. He stops.
He gives that.
And you can tell that his emotional connection to her is just the same on the reciprocal side.
And you can recognize that he knows being angry at her won't solve anything, and he keeping it all sort of inside and trying to work through it to not be angry right now. And those moments are always so powerful. Watching somebody try to not have an emotion is always incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. Since this is Winry's episode, I want to talk about the similarities between, especially that, of you're talking about the anger thing, between Winry and Ed. The first time we see Winry, she throws a wrench at him. Yeah. We see that recurring times, if something's said, all right, you get a wrench in your face. She goes immediately to I'm going to hit you, I'm going to scream at you. We actually get to see them arguing at each other with the same different little head things above them.
When Al has his existential crisis, what fixes it? A wrench to the forehead.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. The similarities between them in terms of I made the point last time, Ed with his alchemy and Winry with her Automail love. It's the same determination to be the best of what they're doing.
Exactly.
It's the same. They have very similar upbringings. They're the only ones that they have for each other in terms of kids in their area who've lost their family.
Which she necessarily didn't have the same passion until she saw Ed's passion.
Exactly, for alchemy.
She loved Automail, and you get the little heart animations and she's all over it, but then when she sees the way Ed is, that's when she becomes a serious passion of wanting to do this.
Yeah. And likewise, that episode previously when they went home and she was making the arm, that was the first time Ed saw her with that same determination. Mm-hmm. So now we get this
staying up 3 days.
Yeah, now we get this back and forth between these characters, which is really nice.
Yeah, and she in this episode tries so hard to get an apprenticeship with Dominic, because this is the first time in her life she's found an outlet for her passion like that.
Yeah.
This is the first person that can actually teach her to go above and beyond her current abilities.
Yeah.
And he constantly denies her that.
Absolutely.
But he does give her an out there at the end where he says, okay, you can stop up here whenever you want. There's a guy down in town that'll help you a little bit.
Yeah, but if you want to come up here and watch me.
Which is him just giving a delayed yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to come watch and learn, I won't stop you, but
I'm not going to teach you.
But then eventually I'll teach you every little thing that I've ever learned.
Right.
Exactly.
Another anime.
On the same note of like the determination and the characters going back and forth in this episode, Winry is the daughter of her doctors. Her lineage is coming through, and I know I've read medical books. We can take care of this child. She's determined she can do it to the point where when other characters like the husband or what's her name Penina, when they're like worried, Ed is like, no, he gets it. He understands. He knows where she's coming from his perspective of who he is on that same similarity, right? That I was talking about. She can do this. He's calmly like, yeah, her parents were doctors. She read books like nobody else when she was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that sound like? It sounds like he's talking about himself.
Yeah.
Right? The similarities there, I think, are just... I think it's enjoyable to watch them go back and forth and sort of keep each other in check. We don't have a clear, like, rival character in this like we do in most, like, shonen, like we're talking about.
There's no kind of bad but good guy.
But these characters are, like we were talking about, these characters are positive rivals.
Yeah, where they're actually pushing each other in a kind and respectful and mature way.
And have a weird transactional relationship where she helps him fight.
Yeah. It's odd, in the original, one of the filler episodes that they do have a pickpocket, like, gentleman thief character, where she is a much more traditional version of this, where she just sort of steals things and it's for a good cause, sort of.
Right.
Yeah. I have nothing more to say about that, just, it was interesting.
Is it the same design? Is it the same character?
No, a different character, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember her name, and I feel like I would remember it if it was something like Panina.
Yeah, right?
Nobody in Rush Valley can make a lighter?
Back to the lighter.
Yeah.
I have written also, I kind of want to see the burgeoning romance between Winry and Panina. I feel like there's something there.
Okay.
I think they have similar passions and similar interests.
Is it Panry or is it Winina?
I think Winina.
Yeah, Winry goes first.
Remember the 6th of October, year 11.
Yeah, he has that written in his watch.
Right, we know why. It's the day that he burns down his house. This date is important to Winry as well. And I think that's, part of the episode, because this is, like I said, Winry's episode. Mm-hmm. In that scene, we see Winry's the only one out of the three of them crying with the house burning down. This is the day that Ed leaves. There's no turning back. For him, it's the day he burned everything to the ground and he turned his back and is moving forward. For her, it's the day he left home.
He left, and he was probably never going to come back to her. As far as she knew.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
I feel like that's a really big moment for her. And I think that's a really big moment translating to Ed realizes that when he realizes she read the note. He's like, that date wasn't for you, that date was for me.
Yeah.
When you read that date, you read something else. And I think he gets that in that moment where he turns. Mm-hmm. I thought that was important, because why would they show her crying? Out of the three of them with the house burning.
Yeah.
It's just very touching for me, and I wrote that down. I felt like that was important to say.
No, you're right, because it meant a lot to her. It was a huge change in her life as well. Mm-hmm. And it does matter that he wrote the date they left and not the date they tried to bring their mom back.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason he chose the date they left. This is the day we look toward our new starting line.
Yep. Which I think was... No, that's an episode of My Hero. Now I'm getting confused with the episode titles. But it still applies. Yeah, it still applies.
Plus Ultra.
Yeah, that's the day Winry understands what Plus Ultra go beyond.
Let's go to episode 12. One is all is one. My favorite.
Where Ed gets his power from Alex Armstrong.
He just has to eat his one curly hair.
And then he gets all the powers of the previous Armstrong family generations.
Biggest thing about this episode, really, is Sig is a man's man.
I love
That
him.
man does
I have-
everything.
He's a
cares
big
for
old
his
bear.
wife.
Yeah.
He does everything. That's a man's man.
I have written, I have a crush on Sig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their teacher's
Strong,
name's
he's
Izumi.
soft. Yeah, Izumi Curtis.
You know, Kenneth, like you were
Soft,
saying.
he's strong, he's burly, he's a man's man.
I want to have sex with
cook-
him.
He cooks, he probably cleans. He probably cleaned up that whatever came out of the door. He probably cleaned that up.
He takes care of her
Mm-hmm.
through and through.
Yeah.
She is, you know, she calls herself a housewife because she has to.
And she's never mean to him.
Like, because of her own, you know, we talk about what happens in the episode. Like,
Yeah.
And he has been by her side all the way through it. We
Yeah.
see him in the scene.
And in no way has he demonstrated that he has perhaps been insecure about him taking on traditional feminine duties. He isn't insecure about it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't mind it. He just sees that this is their life.
Yeah.
He's really cool.
And he loves her.
man.
We see the hearts
Yeah.
hitting Ed's head.
I love that.
Tink, tink.
He's like, wow. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way when she sees Al, right? She, even though, I mean, you don't know it when it first happens, but she knows
Yeah, you can
what
tell
happened.
you can tell she's playing. You can
She
tell.
doesn't treat him any differently.
Mm-hmm.
She welcomes them. She pretends to go along with the whole thing all the way through.
As soon as he reaches out, like he thinks he's about to have an emotional moment, she's like, "No, stupid ass, let your guard down, dumbass," and flips him over. Like she doesn't treat him any differently.
I can tell from sparring with you exactly what happened. It's the line I think she said.
And Sig-
She's like, I know the fuck you guys did.
And Sig does the same thing.
Yeah.
Pats them both on the head.
Yeah, there's no way if Sig knew that he wasn't a full body armor, he'd take the helmet off and rub his head.
Yeah.
Right, you know?
Yeah. And it's
Al makes a point about being like, no one's ever done that to me before.
also, Al, like, not that many people are tall enough to do it. So, yeah.
That's true. Sig
Yeah.
is pretty big.
Yeah. Like,
I do-
There might have been plenty of people that wanted to do it, but they were like, yeah, can you get your 8 foot
Like
ass
you,
down?
seriously?
Kneel down for me.
Yeah, whose armor is that?
Right, right? They just had that in
Who's
their
this
basement.
Tall, not only tall, but really wide, thick ass motherfucker that wears that shit.
Is it
Not
supposed...
Hohenheim.
Hohenheim's pretty tall.
He ain't that big.
This is, as far as I can remember, the first time they actually mentioned their father's name.
I have that written down.
Yeah, Hohenheim. And
Fuck you, Hohenheim.
they bring it up because he knows a lot about the Philosopher's Stone.
They have very explicit flashback of him walking out on them.
Yeah.
That really, like, viscerally affected me anyway. It's the first time I think we've seen his face fully.
Yeah.
And that look of him just looking down at, like, I'm leaving my kids.
Especially see his face and know who he is if you haven't watched the show.
Right.
Yeah. And in the last episode, or is it in episode 10, when they're afraid to see Izumi because they're like, oh shit, when she finds out about us, she's going
That's
to kill
it.
It's
us.
the episode 10, but they also mention it in
Yeah.
episode 11, I
Yeah.
think. She's gonna kill us!
She's going to kill us. And when she does say that she knows that they broke the taboo, what she says is, it's okay to hurt. The exact opposite of what they were afraid of.
I quoted that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that has a lot to do with their personal journey, not their emotional journey, not their personal journey of finding their bodies, but their emotional journey that in every episode, like you were saying, Ed gets angry about things. Al's got his own, like, weird, like, 12-year-old boy deceptions going on in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are boys.
Yeah, Ed's got to get angry and Al's got to get sad.
And they don't know how to process through their emotions and talk to people about them. It's okay to hurt. You can let us know. Winry's line in the other episode, which was sometimes it's good. It helps. Sometimes it helps to talk.
Yeah.
You know, man, that line really got me. It's okay to hurt really got me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and then
Coming from a person
they're
that they-
hesitant to hug her, right? And then
Yeah.
it's okay to hurt, and then they fall into it.
Yeah. There's an old Mr. Rogers story about how he said before that a lot of times people will say, don't be sad. And when they say don't be sad, what they're saying is, I don't want to be around you when you're sad. And it means so much more to say, it's okay to be sad, and I'm here for you if you need me.
And then likewise, if it makes you uncomfortable when somebody's sad, it's okay for you to be able to walk away.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to hear this right now.
Exactly.
You can have your moment.
Basically, what it all boils down to is it's okay to feel your emotions.
Absolutely.
And that's something I think we all struggle with a lot.
Right. You mentioned to me, we were talking a little bit today about like toxic masculinity a little bit.
Yeah.
And
not sick.
Yeah,
exactly, not sick. Right? That's why we're all like, we love sick.
He's the exact opposite of toxic masculinity.
You understand?
He's very positive, and he is very masculine. He's very anti-toxic, but very masculine.
Yeah, he's a big old bear.
Yeah.
I want to give him a hug. Yeah. And this, I think, really drives that home for, they're teaching these kids.
Yeah.
Right?
And that seems to mean a lot to them, because family means a lot to them.
Exactly.
That's why they picked up Ed and Al in the first place, is because they heard that they had no family.
Yeah.
And they had no parents, and Sid and Izumi have no children, and they both want each other.
They met in a weird
one-off
way.
Yeah, she just happened to show up while there was a flood going.
I mean, we've already been talking...
And they were struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We've already been talking about what happened, but they don't reveal that, right?
Yeah.
Right away. But we get to see her almost immediately at the beginning of the episode clap her hands together and do what Ed does.
Yeah.
And I was like...
Who the fuck is that? If you haven't watched the show, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the first thing that I thought when they showed that was, oh...
This is how he learned it.
Yeah, this is how he learned.
Like she was a teacher and she...
You've seen the truth, too.
Yeah. Because they show you the truth when...
Yeah, because when she first met him, she was like, fuck them kids. And the dude came, oh, they're orphans. All right, let's go. In the fucking car, let's go.
On her arm, literally.
Literally swinging. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Like, her organs are gone. They don't really explicitly go what. She just throws up blood all the time. That's such a visual for me. It's like, oh my god.
She's over here all-nighting it.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, actually. Yeah. I mean, she's got probably the actual same, imprint on her side. Does she?
They don't.
Do they not show it ever?
This show
I don't think they ever show it.
This show doesn't have fan service. They don't show her without her shirt on.
I mean, that's fair. She's just a housewife.
She takes them in, and the very first lesson she gives them is she, abandons them on an island for a month to force them to fend for themselves.
Yeah, I literally wrote, she literally just leaves them on an island.
You know what would have been a lot easier if she just sat them down and showed them the Lion King.
Her?
So much time saved. Here's the Lion King.
Her excuse for leaving them on an island was I was left in the cold winters of Briggs.
And then when they show her, it's like, you're an adult.
Yeah.
You're a grown woman.
And literally sings yeah, but they're not you.
Yeah. You're crazy.
She's like, they'll be fine.
Gives them one knife.
This is
not even a knife per kid.
This is before, obviously, the events of Ed and Al's, what happens with them.
Yeah.
Right? How old are they? 6?
Yeah.
And at this point, they're just absolutely normal kids.
Right.
Yeah. They can do a little alchemy, but they're not even allowed to use it for this.
And they don't have, not only don't they use it, I mean, they'd have to draw it in the sand and stuff. They're just normal.
This period of time happened in between.
But also, this is a different time. Even if you think about the real world, it is a different time.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be older, younger.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
My grandparents didn't finish elementary school.
Right? Yeah. This was a time when being a teenager didn't exist.
Yeah.
Once you hit about 13, 14, you're an adult.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
Or
really
whenever you go through whatever your cultural thing is to go through to be a man.
Yeah.
Which is anywhere from below high school.
Getting married off,
it's before 18, that's for sure.
For sure.
I mean, but they could be 7, 8 years old, 10, maybe.
I don't remember exactly what age, but this has to take place in between when their mother got sick and passed away.
And
because the guy says they don't have any parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not that one of their parents left.
Yeah.
So it's between that and when they do perform
before they leave.
Yeah, so it's before year 11.
Before they leave.
Yeah.
Because when they leave, he already has the black suit and the red cape and stuff. But Al's not a suit of armor yet.
Right.
So yeah.
Which means their idea was that they were going to learn how to bring her back from this gal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They saw her clap and they were like, she's a magician. You know?
I mean, and also they show the most dangerous. At least what they show the most dangerous thing on that island to be is a fox.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it is kind of the thing that does happen in a lot of anime where the teacher puts them in a super dangerous situation, but it's really not that dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's like,
you
yeah,
mean
we-
like Aizawa's test where they would get expelled?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot in anime where the teacher's like, yes, you have to fight this super dangerous thing. Oh, but the super dangerous animal ends up being a
like
sentient
your
being.
He's
that's
like your
friends
best
with the
friend.
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I put you on this island, but it's an island abandoned from everybody else, and the biggest, most dangerous thing on there is a fox that's this tall that you could kick in the face and it'd be done.
But they don't know. Exactly.
They gave the fox food.
It does a really good job of them learning that the worst thing this fox can do is steal our food. And when it does steal our food, it's doing it to help its den and its other little foxlings, whatever you call baby foxes. I don't know.
I know, they said cubs, and I immediately thought, like, is that the right word? I don't know.
Fox cubs.
And they then
probably
take
right.
that lesson and they apply it when they do see the hungry fox and they have plenty of food, they throw it to the fox so that they can eat too. That is adorable.
Also, did they fuck that ecosystem up?
Like killing everything. That the
Because
foxes-
towards the end, they show they have like a bunch of like fruit and shit bagged up, like hanging from the did they fuck that ecosystem up?
Nah, that shit'll regrow.
Yeah, it'll probably be fine. I mean, they basically just made a little camp.
I don't know, they come back and it's like all the trees are like gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, we ruined everything.
Yeah.
We just salted the earth here.
They see the two skeletons of the baby foxes.
Also, what
like,
happened to the mom fox?
She left. She's like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I can't be catching
Those two
rabbits
baby
for-
foxes learned a very valuable lesson
Yeah.
about their parents leaving. They're just like the
Full
other Rex.
metal foxes.
Fullmetal foxes.
Full metal foxes.
Oh, I love it.
I like that Al is already taller than Ed when they're children.
Right.
Also, they do the whole like say they're thankful and shit before they say sorry before they kill some, when they show them actually killing stuff.
Right.
Except for fuck a fish. Fish don't have feelings, I guess, because they're not cute. But they just kill fish. Yeah, fuck a fish. They can't kill a rabbit because it's cute.
This is going backwards a little bit back to Hohenheim. I wrote that
Fuck you.
when they mention him, it's because she says that he's the only person that's come by that's looking for the Philosopher's Stone. What's the similarities between like the fact that Hohenheim is looking for the Philosopher's Stone and that these two kids now, his sons, are also looking for the Philosopher's Stone? Not completely unrelated to him, but unrelated to his personal journey of looking for it, as far as we know now, right? And their journey is their own journey to find the Philosopher's Stone. What's that say to you, like, about, like hereditary traits from, like, your family and, like ingrained idealism or, like, something like that?
Well, I'm not one to believe that too many personality traits are hereditary. I like to ascribe as much of that as possible to to nurture your environment and how you're brought up. But I do think there is something to be said to the fact that they were surrounded by textbooks and research on the Philosopher's Stone, so of course this is their first
Grand
idea.
interest in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it'll happen. I'll be able to...
And you also don't, at this point, you don't know why he wants the Philosopher's Stone.
No, of course not. But I think that's important, and especially for as like a kid who obviously resents his father, right? And
Isn't, in a way,
he's just-
following his footsteps.
he's just heard for maybe the first time that his dad who left him is
doing
on the same journey that he is.
Yeah.
Now it's his, like, I don't know. Have you ever done something where you're like, gosh, shit, my dad does that or my mom does that?
I do that all the time.
And you get actively frustrated about it. You're like, I didn't like that trait growing up, and I don't like that I'm doing it right now. Right?
Yeah.
Is that a relatable trait at all?
Yeah.
Oh, I do that I do shit my dad does all the time, and afterward I'm always like, damn it, that's what my dad would have done.
Right. And yeah, I attribute a lot of that to growing up actually, like, visually seeing it, right? You said with the books and stuff, but Ed in the moment, I think, does a great job of relaying that just on like another one of those little, like, we're rewatching this and looking at like little things. His reaction is different than Al's reaction. Obviously the relationship is different, but he's not just like, don't talk about my dad. You can clearly see that he's like, motherfucker's looking for the Philosopher's Stone too? What the hell?
Motherfucking stupid.
Yeah, and I was like, and Izumi's like, what are you mad about? This guy looking for that. I was like, oh, that's our dad. She's like,
oh shit.
It's fucking weird. Don't know how you didn't notice that with the blonde hair and the gold eyes.
And we never really brought it up while you were training us.
Yeah.
And we can't really talk about this episode without at least bringing up Ed's grand epiphany that he's alive because he consumed life.
Yep.
And this is just how we break things down.
Destruction and reconstruction is living.
Yeah. That's literally all we do all the time. We eat food, and we take that food and turn it into human.
I wrote down to think about that, like, on a philosophical level, and how can we apply that to the show as well. Like, learning from your mistakes and actively changing in your life. Mm-hmm. You're still deconstructing and then reconstructing.
Yeah.
You're deconstructing the actions that you've just done and reconstructing yourself to learn from them.
Yeah.
And I think that is exactly like what we see happening throughout the show with these characters.
That every time you gain something to become a better person, it's because you lost something previously.
Or you learn something by making a mistake. Right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily like lost a physical thing or object.
Yeah, no, that's what
like,
I'm getting at.
Lost a part of yourself that you were like before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we see that very clearly.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
He's willing to kill those rabbits to survive, but he won't kill other people to bring his brother's body back.
Look, he says, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry to the rabbits.
Although that first time, that rabbit gave him that look.
And they got killed by the fox.
Which I thought that was a lesson right there. They were like, motherfucker died anyways. Could have been us eating him instead of him.
That's a good point.
Died anyways.
Yeah. I love that Al's just like, balls enough to admit, he's like, we've been out here for a month. I have no idea what the fuck that line means.
Yeah.
It's like, I got it, let me tell you. He's like, cool, thanks.
All right, we got this. Yep, food chain.
Even
No, it's
though
bigger than the food chain. Oh, so the food chain but bigger. Okay, got it.
Even though Al almost got 8.
Yeah.
He looked at that motherfucker and he saw the classic just meat on the bone.
Oh, I love that.
And you see the bite mark.
Like it's the fucking Flintstones.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, the bite mark.
I love that.
We'll have to talk about that off the podcast.
Okay. I do have one more thing to bring up. Do you either of you know the symbol of the Ouroboros?
Yeah, it's a snake eating its own tail.
Well, yeah, but do you know what it means? Like the idea of like what it's used in symbolism?
Yeah, it's a snake eating his own tail.
It often means that you're destroying yourself by what you're doing, or that you're just going around in a circle. But
creation, destruction.
Yeah, I can also see how it'd be used here to.
How does he grow more tail?
I just think the fact that the bad guys have the Ouroboros tattoos, it's a big clue of like what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When he's just like, oh fuck, how did you get into this? Oh shit, can't trust anybody. Right? Moment of like, where he's like, nice tattoo. She's like, that's really your last words?
Well, he was looking at something else.
Well, it's also worth mentioning, like you were saying, though, that the bad guys have the Ouroboros tattoo, which would mark their ideology as being similar to the protagonists, right?
Right.
Breaking things down.
Which implies maybe related to alchemy. I don't know how that applies to the bad guys in terms of like their relationship to the protagonist. But yeah, you're right. Like the philosophy and the ideology of deconstructing and reconstructing. I just think it was important to bring up because they make a big deal about it in that one episode.
Yeah.
That was like one of the things. They've got tons of pictures of it. King Bradley's like, that's interesting. Hey, how about you guys stop talking about this stuff? You can't trust anybody.
King, he looked at the Ouroboros tattoo?
Yeah, he did.
He looked at it?
Yeah, he did. Alright.
Alright, see you guys 2 weeks from now. Next week, we're going to be back on My Hero.
Academia.
Yeah.
Go beyond.
Plus Ultra.
See you next time.